Happy day. I hope that you're doing well. Life is lifing, right? But we're overcomers and survivors. So, actually, I got these notes. I took them last night, but I felt like, doing another video last night would be like too much. So, waited until today, and this one is going to be called Potiphar's Wife. And yeah, you guys, Potiphar was castrated. Yeah. When you look into the word officer in the Strong's Concordance, it basically says castrated eunuch. Yeah. So, I mean, am I the only one that didn't know? maybe I'm the slow one, right? Yeah, okay. But for me, it opens it up. So yummy. All right, so in the Quran, we are actually given Potiphar's wife's name, and her name is Zuleikha. Zuleikha. Zuleikha? I don't know. Y'all know I have trouble pronouncing these names. So it's Zuleikha. All right, Zuleikha, wife of Potiphar. And according to the Quran, she was African, which kind of makes sense, right? I don't know why they have to point out she was African because, duh, they lived in Egypt. Maybe they're trying to point out that she was a darker hue, I don't know. Um, but even in that, you guys have to be careful with classifications of people. I myself prefer to classify people based on Noah's three sons. And within those three sons, there was a mixture. So, yeah, we can't just say African American and then place people in Africa that actually are Hebrew and ran into Africa to hide, which is why they were sold as slaves because they were never African. But that's another video. But anyways, Potiphar's wife was African. And according to many legends, some legends she does have children, others she doesn't. We're going to go with she doesn't, okay? But in all fairness, because I care about integrity and stuff like that, I do have to mention the other things that are mentioned in other legends. But for this video's sake, we're going with she's childless, okay? And so she's childless and she desires children. She didn't have children and she acted like she wanted to adopt Joseph. Real quick, one of the lost books that I happened upon is the Testament of Joseph. There actually are testaments of every one of Israel's 12 sons. And Joseph must have been traumatized by this woman because in the Testament of Joseph, the majority of it is about her. And I was in tears because he calls her shameless. Shameless woman. And then reading about her antics and everything that she did, hey. Okay, so at first she pretended as if she wanted to adopt Joseph and would show affection for him by going to him at night. Joseph saw through her deceit and he saw that she was shameless. And so he asked God to divert her attention from him. That didn't work. She did everything to try to seduce Joseph. She spoke well of him in public, especially before her husband. She said she would kill herself. She would kill her husband and she would marry Joseph and he would become her Lord. She tried to study the word with Joseph, asked him, can you tell me about your God? I want to, I want to serve your God. Meanwhile, she had idols everywhere in the house. And when Joseph would come, she would try to cover them as if he didn't know that they were there. And let's see, what else did she do? Oh, she sent him food with enchantments upon it and in it. And so Joseph would not eat. And so she would go to Joseph and say, why haven't you eaten this food? I prepared it for you. And Joseph would just tell her flat out to her face, there's magic upon the food, and I am not going to eat it. And how many desperate people do this type of stuff today? Okay. Low self-esteem, desperate. That's how come I'm always like, men, why are you out here like, she better know how to cook. She better know how to cook. Okay. And then you wonder why you get set up and in toxic situations, because guess what? She know how to cook. She know how to cook many things. And she cooked your ass in a stew. And now you stuck on stupid. Wondering, what the hell happened? Why am I not happy? Why do I want somebody else? Anyways, let's not get into the angel rumors and the angel tea. Okay. Be careful whose food you eat. Okay? So she threatened to kill herself if Joseph didn't sleep with her. And she even gave Joseph lavish gifts, but he refused. And then she told him that she would take away his food. He replied to her that God will provide. She told him she would put him in jail. He told her that God would release him. She said that she would make him work harder. And he basically said, like, praise to God, he is the one that gives the work. And then she begged him to teach her about his God. One time she took him into her chamber and covered her idol, but he saw it and he told her that God looked to and fro. And she made him parade around her friends. One time she wasn't acting, she actually got lovesick. That is a very real thing. Lovesick. She got lovesick off of her passion and desire for Joseph, and she fell ill. And her friends came to see her, and her friends said, what is this? Like, what is going on? Why are you sick? And she said, I'll tell you why I'm sick. And she called Joseph into the room. And let me tell you, honey, every woman was awestruck by Joseph. So much so that they cut themselves as they were cutting the oranges that Joseph placed upon the table for them to eat. And they had blood on their garments because they said that Joseph was so good looking that if you looked upon him, you felt as if he put an enchantment upon you. And then her friend said, well, he's your slave, so he has to do what you say. And, well, we can see why you're lovesick. And, oh, my goodness, look at this man, And, yes, this is all in the Testament of Joseph, which is a good read. You should read it. And so, if you can find it, and her friends couldn't take their eyes off of him. Now I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, have I ever known anybody this damn good looking? Well, wait a second. My girls would say otherwise, but it didn't have that type of effect on me. I'm thinking, have I ever? Well, I can't tell y'all about that. Actually, yes, I can. Yes, I can. So there was this one person who was beautiful to both men and women. However, he only swung with women. But when I looked upon him, my yeah. Anyways, we're not going to go into that story. Okay, he was pretty, but I want to know what Joseph looked like. Like this makes me want to know what he looked like. Not that looks are everything, but they do help. Anyways, he must have been really good looking because the Bible talks about how good looking he was. And then this woman is going on and on and on and on. And her friends are going on and on and on and on. And then we'll get to where we're going next. So she set Joseph up. One day there was a festival, and everyone had went to the festival but her, because she was sick. And when Joseph returned from the field, she almost had him. Joseph did say that she was very beautiful. And he almost gave in to lust. However, he saw his mom, he saw his aunt, he saw his mom Rachel, he saw his aunt Leah, and he saw his dad, and they were telling him about flee from sin, and don't do these treacherous acts. And he ran, and then he came back, because he's a man, y'all. He's a man. So he came back, and when he came back, he almost gave in again. But God appeared to him and said, if you touch her, I will cast away the stone which this earth is founded upon, and it will go into ruin. So he was basically letting Joseph know that the calling on his life was so great that if he gave in to, adultery and fornication, that, what is that? I'm sorry, my puppy has something she's not supposed to have, and she knows she's not supposed to have that. Where you get that from? You good girl, you spit it out. Sit down. Stop being bad. Sit down. She's so cute, y'all. She looks like a little Ewok. Her little doggy lips. I love her doggy lips. Okay. Let's get back to the video. Over there being bad. Thinking I wouldn't see you. I see everything. I saw you. I saw you. All right. So he almost gave in, but he didn't give in. And it was this time that he turned to run, and she had a knife on her, and she was so frustrated with Joseph. She took the knife out and tried to stab him, and he left his garments in her hand. And so you know how the story goes. She basically, comes to her senses, and then like everybody's coming back from the festival, and so she lies on Joseph, and Potiphar puts him into prison. And this woman was so obsessed with Joseph that she would go and visit him every day. And she would tell him of her love and how, she can get him out and how they can be together. And Joseph still resisted her advances. And so she told him that he would never see the light of day. So let's go back into Potiphar and how he is a eunuch. So the word officer, it could be translated as eunuch, but they make it not clear. However, when you look the word up, because the word for officer is saris, okay, and that's SAW-REECE. and it means castrated. Okay? So Potiphar was castrated. I couldn't find any documents on if he was castrated as a youth or if he was castrated when he took that position. However, I did find an interesting legend, and we're just going to call it that because there is no solid proof for the truth. However, knowing how the Egyptians were, and like the fact that Joseph is making people lust after him, the legend does hold a little bit of weight, and it's very interesting. So basically, the legend is that God sent Gabriel to castrate Potiphar, because when he first bought Joseph, he bought him for sexual purposes, and God wouldn't allow it. So that's that's an interesting layer added to the pot. Is it true or not? Only God knows. But he did bring it across my eyesight, and I thought it was just interesting because it's like the truth is always way more diabolical than any fiction. So lastly, I will say, so it does seem that he was unable to fulfill his wife's sexual needs, and she was trying to get Joseph to settle and to sin with her. And the interesting thing is when you look at God's plan for Joseph's life, if he would have settled for Zuleikha or whatever her name is, it definitely would have been a detriment to the plans that God had for him, because he goes on to become the second in command in Egypt. And if you want to know his Egyptian name, it is Yuya, Yuya, and he is the grandfather of King Tut. So we will leave that there, and of course, you guys know I will be back. You know what? You're doing too much, Bubbas. I see you. Put it down. I'm done with the video. All eyes on you. That's right. Have a seat. All right, so I will be back, and I will talk with y'all later. Y'all hear her? She over here trying to destroy stuff, because she's like, hey. She about to get all the attention she wants and then some. Later, y'all.